Welcome back to Cord Cutting Today, where we break down some of the biggest stories happening in the world of cord cutting, including today. 4 more cable TV networks shut down late last week. We'll tell you which ones they are and what you need to know about them. Also, with all these networks shut down, Universal Kids also shut down earlier this year. Why aren't cable networks making themselves available for free, either streaming online or with an antenna over the air, and trying to get some ad revenue if subscriber numbers are still going down? We'll break down why that's happening. And lastly, more music is now released every single day than was in the entire year of 1989. There's a connection there about some mistakes TV is making and why things are dramatically changing in the world of TV also. We'll break this all down and let you know about our very busy week in cord cutting, in news, and more here in a quick second. First off, if you want to learn more about any of the stories I'm about to talk about, check out the show notes, and in the first pinned comment, I'll put a link to each story there. If you want to, you can subscribe to our newsletter. We send out a newsletter every morning with all these stories and more stories that we don't talk about here. You can find it in the show notes, a link to sign up for our free daily newsletter right there. You can unsubscribe at any time. And if you like what we do, please consider hitting that subscribe button, hitting that thumbs up. Doing one or both lets YouTube know you enjoy what we do here. All right, it's happened. Warner Brothers Discovery has shut down 4 more networks, and I suspect more are coming soon. Not just from Warner Brothers Discovery, but from other networks. With this, HBO Family, Thriller Max, Movie Max, and Outer Max have all shut down. Now, this comes as Warner Brothers Discovery is doing 2 things here, trying to direct people more to HBO Max and move away from the traditional subscriptions to HBO and the like. Increasingly, though, it's also a sign of fewer and fewer people watching these channels. You've heard me talk about this for a long time. There is not enough people watching many of these channels to justify them. We've seen this happen worldwide, though, too. Disney has been very aggressive in international markets, at least, not so much here in the US yet, of shutting down cable TV networks. The Disney Channel and other big networks have been shut down in things like Australia, New Zealand, parts of Europe, Asia, and more. And instead, they're directing you to subscribe to Disney Plus to get access to that Disney Junior, Disney TV channel content there. I suspect we'll go see more and more of that, and I think Warner Brothers Discovery is doing this. Early next year, Warner Brothers Discovery plans to split the company into 2 parts. Their studios and streaming on one side, and their cable TV networks into another company. I suspect we'll see multiple cable TV networks shut down, maybe not right away, but soon, as they just are going to be deemed unprofitable. Keep an eye on this. I think we're going to see a lot of cable networks shutting down soon. So with all this, in our next story, I did a breakdown. I get this asked to me a lot. Hey, why didn't Universal Kids become a free over-the-air network? Why didn't they just make it streaming online? Why? I hear that a lot. Why don't more networks do that? Well, the truth is, and we've seen this reported from multiple earnings, not just from Warner Brothers Discovery, but A&E and others, is a majority of their revenue still comes from cable subscriptions or pay TV subscriptions through streaming and more. The ads revenue has been traditionally fallen recently as the ad market has been very soft. I felt it here. Our revenue per view is down from a few years ago. Same with the website. And talk to me, other people, it's the same for them. It's the same with television, though. They're increasingly seeing ad revenue plummet as ad companies have more options than other. Netflix, Disney Plus, all these places launching ad-supported streaming plans. Websites, social media, billboards, all these places are sucking away ad revenue that would have traditionally gone towards TV networks, whether they be free streaming channels on something like Pluto TV or with an antenna online. And until that changes, until it becomes more profitable to put your content direct to consumers with ads, they're just not doing that. Even networks like ABC, CBS, Fox, and NBC get a majority of their revenue still through subscriptions, and that's why they want a whole lot more of it than they do through ads, even though they're free over the air. We'll keep a close eye on this, but I get that question a lot. It really comes down to dollars. Until it becomes more profitable to put your content for free out there on antenna or on streaming, they're just not going to do it. All right, got a great new study that came out from Music Radar that looked at how much music is released every single day. And according to this report, more music is released every day than was in the entire year of 1989. Why is that important to streaming? Well, for one, it's just really cool and interesting. I thought it really jumped out at me when I saw it. But secondly, what I thought was interesting there, and we've seen this before, you see Disney and other streaming platforms dramatically cutting back on the amount of original content they're producing. When they first launched, they kind of were like, we got to produce all this content to try to attract subscribers. And what they're finding is there's just too much content. There's too many low-quality shows produced that no one cares about that cost money and end up losing money. Disney's been a big pusher in this, but others are doing the same thing, increasingly cutting back on content that they produce to focus on more carefully selected, high-quality content. This is what we saw back in the broadcast TV days, right? There's only so many hours in a day. You can't produce as much content as you can with streaming when you just put it out and who watches it, watches it. We're also seeing this over at Warner Brothers Discovery. They've taken their HBO Max service, removed a lot of the kid content, Sesame Street, Looney Tunes, and more. And they said they were looking for a more mature audience focus, targeting adults rather than children or families with some of their content. That's why we saw Looney Tunes leave and Sesame Street leave, not have their contract renewed should be a better way to say it. I think we're going to see this more and more. There's such a flood of content. Let's not even talk about YouTube content being made every single day, like this channel. But there's only so many hours in the day, and there's only so many people in the world. It's increasingly why we're seeing some cutbacks. Now, that's hit me hard because I was really excited for the Babylon 5 reboot. I'm a big fan of that show. Would have loved to see the reboot. And in the end, it didn't happen. And I think one of the reasons, beyond the fact that it was originally going to be on the CW, then that was sold and the new owners had a different vision. But why it wasn't picked up by streaming services is they're saying, we're cutting back on the amount of original content we produce. I think that's going to be a big one. I still hope against hope that someday that will come together. For now, though, so much content's being made, it's making it difficult for people to be profitable, not just with music, but with television also. All right, YouTube TV's adding more locals and more CW affiliates went live over the weekend. If you're looking for some list of all the channels there, check it out. Now, Google struck a deal with Nexstar, who owns the CW now, the majority of it though. I think there's still a minority that it's owned by other people, though they have an option soon to buy up the rest of that. Has struck a deal with Google and has been slowly adding their channels to YouTube TV. Look for more of them to come, but check out our post in the show if you want to see a full list of all the ones that were added recently to that. All right, you ready for this one? This one hit me today in TV history. You ready for this one? 26 years ago today, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire first premiered on ABC, captivating audiences. Now, if you weren't around back then or you weren't paying attention, it was a huge thing. Who Wants to Be a Millionaire was massive. And then for a little while, it felt like ABC was showing it like 8 nights a week. I don't know how they pulled that off with only 7 days in a week, but it sure felt like it. Massive show. And eventually lost steam. But with this, as you see, things like, the impact of American Idol dominating it, I do wonder today if we'll see such game shows be phenomenons today as they were back in the late 90s, early 2000s with Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, American Idol, and others. There's still some very popular ones, but this was a cultural phenomenon that I, as somebody who didn't watch game shows, couldn't escape either. Leave me a comment. Are you surprised it's been 26 years since it came to the United States? Now, I believe it was in the UK first, and that was airing before that. But here in the United States, 26 years ago last weekend, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire first premiered. All right, we were just talking about Warner Brothers Discovery cutting back on content for HBO Max, dropping Looney Tunes, Sesame Street, and more. Well, good news for Looney Tunes fans, Tubi has added Looney Tunes cartoon shorts, the classic ones, for free to Tubi. Now, they also have the newer Looney Tunes stuff from a few years ago included, but the classic stuff is now streaming for free on Tubi. Great, I love it. I know many people were very sad because once it left HBO Max, it's not like you could go to Amazon Prime or iTunes and buy seasons of them. They had some collections of them on DVDs, but it was kind of not a great situation. I know a lot of people are really excited that Tubi now is doing it. If you haven't checked out Tubi recently, they've been really expanding their lineup of content. Warner Bros. Discovery, but many other partners out there bringing their content to Fox's free ad-supported streaming service. All right, AI is a big concern in content creation for a long time. Now Universal's taking some proactive steps here, including adding onto their movies a warning that you may not use Universal movies to train AI. Now, that means that they are going out there where they download content and then upload it to AI systems, and then the AI scans it and uses it to train to become more intelligent and smarter. It's kind of one of those things, you know, the concern is there, hey, we need to give them content to train on to make them more intelligent, to understand who we are, what we want, and when we make references, they need to understand where that reference came from in a movie. But then the question is, will they use that to create content that basically infringes on the copyright of the owner of the movies, books, and more? We just saw Reddit block the Internet Archive there from indexing their pages through the Wayback Machine because they argued that AI systems were going around their block on AI training by scanning the Internet Archive page archives of Reddit pages instead of going directly to Reddit to try to get around their block on it. So they're now blocking the Internet Archive. I think this is going to be a battle back and forth for a while. AI companies want this data. They're going to find ways to get it. And let's be honest, saying you don't want it, you know, you're going to have to prove they actually did. And that could be a tough thing if the AI is programmed properly. We'll wait and see what happens. But there's a massive battle brewing over AI laws. Disney's got some lawsuits going. They hope to create criminal precedent here to go after AI companies when they think they're infringing on their content. We'll wait and see what happens. All right, good news for fans of classic 80s and 90s cartoons. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles will be coming next month to MeTV Tunes for free over the air or streaming online through one of their partners that are paid. Now, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, talk about cultural phenomenon. Somebody who grew up in the 80s and 90s definitely watched the show, loved it, and it's now going to be streaming for free, or I should say broadcasting for free through an antenna on MeTV Tunes. All right, I want to jump back to a story from last week. We got a lot of questions I saw in the comments and on our Facebook, social media, and even in our email about what is the fact that PBS is facing funding cuts and slashing their budget by over $500 million mean for your local PBS stations? And that's a tough question. For now, no PBS station is planning to shut down. But I will say this, there's probably going to be some big changes to how your PBS is funded and operated, as I guess about $1 trillion or $1 billion, I should say, not trillion, $1 billion in revenues being lost from PBS. While major PBS stations in like New York, Chicago, and others are well funded, probably don't have to worry about it. Many smaller PBS stations do struggle to get donations and did rely heavily on the federal funding. For now, I get this question, oh, my PBS is shutting down behind this. At this time of recording, I do not know of any PBS stations shutting down. They are doing some aggressive fundraising to try to help offset these costs, but for now, no PBS stations are shutting down. We are watching it closely. Now, I did live in an area in Texas back the first time I owned this company, where the local PBS station did shut down. When there was this shift to ATSC 3.0, they took the money from the federal government and instead of and agreed to transfer their frequency and then changed their mind and shut down instead, leaving us with no PBS stations free over the air. And on paid services, we ended up getting a PBS station from a major city that was some ways away instead. But PBS for now and NPR, no major changes, but it's coming soon. And lastly, this is an AI story that kind of jumped out at me. I thought was interesting. From Business Insider, Uber users in Atlanta, where now the Waymo's self-driving cars are now available, are increasingly canceling rides with human drivers in an attempt to try to get AI-driven self-driving cars. They would prefer that over the people out there getting humans. I have a friend that lives out in California in the Waymo area, and I was asking her about this, and she was telling me, oh yeah, very true. The rides of the AI is significantly better, and increasingly people are preferring those, attempting to request them rather than waiting for or just accepting a human driver for this. They'll wait longer for an AI one. I have to ask you, I use Uber a lot. I love it. Earlier this year, I had some car trouble. I had it in the shop, and it was really nice. Brought it in, took an Uber back home. When they called and said my car was ready, I just called an Uber, jumped in it. Going to the airport, I increasingly do this. Why pay for parking, especially if you're gone for like a week, when you can just take an Uber on demand? I remember, when I got a car, I moved on my own. Hey, oh man, some trouble. I got to get brake pads repaired, this, that. It's going to be hours. Do I sit there and wait all day in the waiting room at the car repair shop? Do I try to get a friend to pick me up and bring me back? Then you feel like you're imposing on friends. Uber was great. And it's created a whole boon of people working for themselves, doing either Uber or Uber Eats or other delivery services for like Walmart and a different place to get drivers. What does this mean? Well, increasingly, those jobs are going to go away. I don't think we're going to... The genie's out of the bottle. You can't put it back in the bottle. And self-driving cars can drive a lot more, do a lot more rides, and be a lot more cost-effective for the companies. And apparently, according to multiple reports we see online, including this one from Business Insider, people are increasingly preferring them over human drivers. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. I've noticed that to be a trend myself. I'd love to hear from you. That's my question of the day. Would you rather have a human driver or a self-driving car driver from Uber? Let me know. Well, that's it for today. I hope you have a fantastic day. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up. I would love to hear from you what you think. Until next time, take care. Be safe. I'll talk to you all again real soon.